have this expert panel here prepared to give some technical inputs. So, ladies and gentlemen, dear participants and guests, dear colleagues and friends here at the panel, landscapes are burning, and we know that rainforests get destroyed by fires in Amazonia, in Siberia, and as I speak, one national park is in Madagascar, is in flames, threatening its unique biodiversity. Those fires, ladies and gentlemen, are only the most visible manifestation of deeper reasons, what we call climate change. They are part of a vicious circle, and are simultaneously cause and an effect of climate change. We can already feel it. We see the negative impacts of climate change around the world, increasing volatile weather, degrading landscapes, and loss of biodiversity. The ecosystem of our planet is at stake. Over the past 2 decades, approximately 20% of the Earth's vegetated surface showed declining productivity, mainly because of unsustainable resources, because of unsustainable resource use and land management practices, including uncontrolled burning of land. And at the same time, despite promising trends in the past, we are now again alarmed by an increasing number of people suffering from hunger on the rural spaces. It is a scandal that now 10% of the world's population is living below the $1.90 a day, and 820 million people globally are suffering, don't have enough to eat, suffering from hunger. And we cannot accept this. We do understand, though, that people fearing for their livelihoods today do not invest in landscapes, in sustainable landscape management. They prioritize their subsistence of their family over natural capitals. Destructive practices such as uncontrolled fires, hence, are at the same time consequence and cause of poverty. Another vicious circle that needs to be broken. If we want significant contributions to the SDGs, such as zero hunger, restoration of ecosystems, restoration of forests, and good life on land, we have to find ways out of these complex cycle of problems and solutions, and they keep reinforcing themselves, basically. We need to assure that no one is left behind. Without any doubt, we need to unlock the full potential of landscapes for an inclusive and sustainable development. Therefore, we need to open the necessary space and options for people to engage in sustainable management of landscapes and restore their landscapes, to make sustainable livelihoods in rural areas possible. Rights and responsibilities are related to the utilization and protection of natural resources are essential in this regard. And we need to remain attentive for community-driven solutions coming from the ground. Acknowledging the challenges and realizing the need to act, the Ministry of Economic Cooperation and Development has initiated 2014 the initiative One World No Hunger. Within this initiative, we started 2 global projects. One global project on soil protection and rehabilitation of degraded land for sustainable development and food security. And the other one is global project on responsible land tenure and land governance in Madagascar. Whilst this project on responsible land governance enables households to get access to securing tenure rights, the global project on soil protection and rehabilitation of degraded land for food security supports them in restoring soil fertility and building resilient landscapes. Addressing fire management is a crucial component of our efforts in Madagascar. However, it is a huge challenge. Evidence from Madagascar has shown that the most vulnerable need low investment alternatives that ensure food security. These solutions will avoid destructive practices like slash and burn activities and rangeland fires. We need to better understand the causes of the fires rather than repressing them. Based on this, we have to create appropriate approaches for pro-poor landscape management and create new opportunities for smallholder farmers. Let me come to an end and conclude that I think that we all agree that sustainable and inclusive development needs good governance of natural resources, that we need clear and transparent land use rights, and success relies on the engagement of everyone, from the local communities to the international actors. There are no sustainable solutions without integrative dialogue. Let us use this opportunity here today to discuss these, share the experiences, listen to the experts, and to firefight damages of burning practices and engage in landscape restoration and management for a sustainable future. Thank you very much.
Thank you much. Yes, thank you very much, Bernard Pons, for this excellent introductory presentation, very much setting the scene for what we are going to look closer at today, notably how can we move towards better management of wildfires and break those vicious circles. My name is Vanya Westerberg. I'm an economist and consultant with Altus Impact, and I also represent the Economics of Land Degradation Initiative. I'm the moderator for your session, and as Bernard Worms rightly mentioned, wildfires are making the headlines of media today. And that is happening as climates are getting drier and warmer. And we're seeing them in previously unimagined geographies. Siberia, Sweden, Queensland, rainforests we heard about burning a few months ago. And whilst wildfires do not only devastate livelihoods and wildlife, or uncontrolled wildfires, they're also a real threat to progress with restoration challenges that we are trying to achieve. At the same time, we know that fire has been used as a rangeland management tool for decades to manage fuel loads and thus reduce the risk of these massive blazes that get out of control. And there are also entire ecosystems that are dependent on fires. South African fynbos, certain savanna systems, and without the fire, these ecosystems would not survive as such. Whilst in other ecosystems, they are very devastating. So fire is very complex, and we should be careful not to make generalizations good or bad. So therefore, it's a good moment for us to look closer at a specific case study with regards to Madagascar, and learn about some of the ecological and economic consequences and cost of fires. So Harry Fidi will present shortly, after which we will debate what are the approaches to more sustainable rangeland fire management. Now, introducing our panel, and we'll discuss within the panel following Harry Fidi's discussion presentation, and as well your priority as to what are the most pertinent questions to address. So we've got at the end of the table here Simon Yirel, who is the chief of the Ecologic community in the upper west of Ghana. And yes, and then we have Emmanuel Lingule from the Environmental Protection Agency, who's also done research on community-based fire management in the Ecologic community in the upper west of Ghana. Then we have our Madagascar delegation, Jean-Jacques Jarzodi, Director de Reboisement et de la Gestion des Paysages et des Forêts from the Ministry of Environment and Sustainable Development, and Marcelin Randiam-Balolona, who is the Director de la Région de Boeni. And finally, here next to me, Harifidi Rakoto, who is a researcher and a forester at the University of Antananarivo. I give the floor to you, Harry Fidi.
Thank you very much, Vanya. Ladies and gentlemen, my talk today is more about fires, but let's see how fires can also reach to our focus on today, which is more about landscape. And Next one, yeah. So we are going to talk about Madagascar. Most of the time, Madagascar is for most of people, they're just a cartoon. Yeah, but you can imagine that in Madagascar, there is no more lion, for example, and that there is no more rhino. So the Madagascar, for people, wow, Madagascar. Yes, but after Madagascar, where it is. So Madagascar is, in East Africa. It is an island that it isn't really known for its biodiversity. And, all of this kind of, next please. Yeah, it is in the southeast of Africa, and it is a very huge island where biodiversity is unique in the world. I will show after how unique it is. And also, we have this micro-continent situation where you have from 0 meters to 3,000 meters, a situation where you have a very dry part or also very humid part. The next one, please. So in kind of unique biodiversity, as I told earlier, you have this fantastic dry forest, but you have also this fantastic humid forest where you have also this kind of, everybody knows about it, the big baobab of Madagascar also. So we have this kind of diversity, from this part of very humid in the eastern part, but also with dry forest in the western part, and in the south, this spiny, exceptional forest of Madagascar. Next one, please. So if we are looking in details about that, the next one, please. You can see here that in Madagascar, everything that you see, you will say, wow. Because all of them, you cannot just see them in Madagascar. For example, for lemurs, where people really knows about it, it is more than 90,000% that is unique in Madagascar. So you can imagine that when you are talking, for example, in Madagascar of the loss of 1 hectare of forest, it is clearly a loss of 1 hectare for the humanity, because all of the plants and mammals and reptiles that you will lose for everywhere in the world. So it is really key to understand that. The next one, please. So, but now we are more talking about, biodiversity in Madagascar, but there is also people in Madagascar, There is people who are very poor. 80% of the community in Madagascar are in the rural part, and most of them are under the situation of poverty. And you can clearly see that, as Bernard said earlier, we have, with this poverty plus biodiversity, but also you are clearly seeing that the natural capital is declining. We have lost during the less than the 10 last years, 30% of the natural capital of Madagascar. So it is really crucial that we have to think about what can happen in the future. So one crucial point is, when you are looking about this situation of communities and people in Madagascar, we are also looking that they are in extreme poverty. That means that the agriculture for them, for example, is really to survive. It is not a question of subsistence. We are talking a lot with subsistence farming, but for them it is really survival farming. So now we are going to our topic about fires. So now you clearly see that fire is very important in Madagascar. In 2016, we have seen more than 4 million hectares of fires for 1 year. The situation is more and more, less and less, because we have registered during 2018 3 million hectares of fires in Madagascar, which is still very, very important. For our work, we have worked in a region called Bueni in the northwest of Madagascar, where we have seen that even we have this decline in the situation of fires everywhere in the country. We have in Bueni more and more fires up to date. The next one, please. So now you can see here we have analyzed more specifically the situation in the northwest for the situation of 6 last years of fires. And you clearly see that everywhere in the south of the region we have 6 fires during 6 years. The next one, please. So now we have tried to understand that why we have so much fires in this kind of landscapes. So we have seen that there is a lot of early fires, there is also some dry season fires, and there is a lot of late fires. The next one, please. So now we have analyzed the situation of the situation every month till 2013. And we clearly see that there is more and more fires in this area, including, this dry season fires plus also the late fires. Now, if you are going to the situation of Madagascar, we clearly see that the fires during November and December, that means that late fires are normal fires. It is the fires for biomass, for the rangeland fires. But now we clearly see that we have also this dry season fires, which are horrible because all of these fires during June, July, and August are not efficient and are clearly burning all of the available biomass on the landscape. The next one, please. Till 2000, next, and next. So now you clearly see that there is still a persistence of fire in Madagascar, especially in this region, especially also during dry season. The next one, please. Next. And now we clearly see, when we are talking about now the land use of fires and landscapes, we clearly see that most of the fires, more than 90% of fires, are on savanna and shrublands. Just about 3% are on forests, and about 5% are on croplands. And we have seen during the study that only the fires from savanna can be also can go beyond the savannas. We have seen in the croplands that the farmers using fires really control their fire. So they are burning inside their croplands, and it's not going through. But for the savanna, it is going in the forest and also in the croplands. So now we have tried to understand also the situation of fires for the rangeland part. So we have seen that there is a key burning during dry season, which is not efficient. It is just used by the rangemen for having a minimum biomass to keep their cattle survive. The next one, please. Because the normal fire comes later on, and it is scattered in the south part of the Bueni region, where it is a transhumance region of Madagascar. And now when you are seeing the spatial distribution of the fires, you clearly see that there is a rotation done by the rangeland men. That means that they are still working on how to optimize the use of fire in their landscape. Now comes the situation of the analysis of all of this. When we have done the study, we have worked with more than 500 households survey on how to understand the situation of agriculture and pasture in the landscape. And we have seen that most of the households are doing a mixed activities. That means that they are also doing cattle plus agriculture, but most of them has 2 or 3 animals in maximum. And we have seen also that for them, it is really clearly for auto-consumption, which is their priority. As I said before, most of this part of households are surviving about $400 a year. So it is really a question of how to survive. The previous one, please. Yeah, and we have clearly seen also that the people who doesn't have access to markets are practicing less fires. That means that people who are just doing their activities to survive are doing less fires. When they have more access to markets, they are doing more fires and anticipating with fires. The next one, please. And now we have tried to understand also the situation of land tenure in the landscape. And then we have clearly seen that the farmers are using land without tenure rights in some areas. And when in this kind of situation, they are using more fires. Can you go back, please? And even the social arrangement are agreed as a tenure rights. That means that in some cases, we see here this local recognition about 10%, less than 10% of the situation, even there is only social arrangement in between the communities, it is agreed by local communities as a tenure rights. So, but for the no rights, where the land tenure is not secured, there is two situations. The first one is, this kind of extensification. That means that the people are looking for more lands. And in this situation, we have two options. The first option is going directly into the forest and doing slash and burn activities. That means that shifting cultivation, like you have on the photo, that means that cutting, putting fire, and putting seed after. The second one is using degraded land. But when they are using degraded land for extensification, they are using more fires, more chemical products, and more pesticide to have their income. The next one, please. For the pasture land, the pasture land is more complex than we thought, because most of the time we are talking about, for pasture land, let's think about securing the land access. But in this kind of part of Madagascar where you have a lot of transhumance, the key for the rangermen is the access to resources, but not the access to land, because they are just passing through, and what they want is more the availability of the biomass, but not accessing to lands. So if you are talking about land tenure in this area, the land tenure will be more for the local people, but not for the people who are working on this kind of transhumance. Even they are burning these transhumance, even it is very extensive. It is a question of 1 cattle per hectare. So it is really a catastrophe in the situation of the pasture rotation, because they are doing rotation, but they are doing fire during dry season just to keep their cattle alive. So it is, the biomass is decreasing, and it is a situation of maladaptation. That means that they are looking for some option of improvement of their biomass, but at the end, they are degrading their resources. The real question beyond that is there any other option for the farmers? The next one, please. My concluding remarks is, in this situation where you have $400 a year, and that means that you are in extreme poverty conditions, the system is not a subsistence farming, it is a survival farming. That means that it is mainly for autoconsumption. And the autoconsumption has an unevaluable value of life. That means that they need what to eat today for them and for their kids. If there is any more better options, they will take. But any change, even better change, will constitute an additional risk. That means that they can perhaps do better, but if you add more risk, that means that you add a risk on having what to eat today. They will do this option? So, no. So the farmers are more sensitive in the situation of the ratio investment benefit than optimizing the benefit. That means that, for example, for the slash and burn, the investment is $0. It is just for their labor, burning, and then they have a minimum yield to eat. But in other options, they are aware that there is other options which will give more return, but the investment will be more than $0. So the possible option is only low investment, like we said earlier, low investment speculation. For agriculture, what will be the situation of slash and burn? And for pasture, what will be the situation of fire management to have controlled fires? So without concrete options, there is always a risk of maladaptation on a situation that all of these farmers and pasturemen have to be accompanied by the government and by the technical partners. So the need of extension services at local scale for a construction of the answer is key. I am always saying that most of the time, projects, programs, and NGOs are coming in the local communities saying we have the solutions. It is never true. The solution will only come from the local communities. The work that we can do is how we can work with them and give them the new options and opportunities to have the answer by themselves. So my only takeaway point is, you have the password of the Wi-Fi, think landscapes, but it is not working. Think landscapes for people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Harry Fidi. Indeed, the trajectory is quite worrying, to say the least, with degrading pasture quality and productivity leading to more fires, dry season fires you didn't see before, further degrading pasture. So the moment it's becoming very critical. You're also saying that pastoralists and farmers alike are very poor. They're not in a situation themselves to be able to invest and take a risk and try something different. So we're somewhat stuck. And although that you may have households that have secure land tenure, that in itself is not a guarantee either for sustainable land management or reduced use of fires. So I think it's really important that we discuss further what are the means and pathways to which we can resolve some of these issues and move towards better fire management. I will briefly open up to the panel questions and remarks to Harry Fidi. But before doing so, I will also make sure there's some questions coming up here. I suppose that the Slido is working by now, because then you as the audience, I will ask you to vote on what is the most important question you would like to see that the panel discuss after they have commented on Harry Fidi's presentation. Okay, that's not a Slido thing. We will just return to these questions when the panel has provided, each and one of the panel members have provided comments to Harry Fidi. Starting from the chief of Gosori community in the Upper West in Ghana. Simon, the word is yours.
Thank you, Madam. I want to talk about the example that we have experienced in Gosiri in the Upper West region of Ghana. 35 years ago, we realized that our animals, the cattle, would move far away because at the end of every farming season, particularly in November, they will burn the place. The bush, then the farm land will be burnt. So the cows will not have any grass to eat. So they will wander far away towards Burkina Faso. And through that, they got lost and some of them were stolen. There is a saying that the one who wears the shoes knows where it pinches most. The chief then realized that you keep these cows because you want to dowry your sons' wives. Because in that area of Ghana, we use cows to dowry our wives. So if the cows are stolen or are lost, how are you going to marry? So it's a big problem. So he called the sub-chiefs and then the people of the area to talk to them about the situation that their cows are getting lost as a result of the fact that they don't have grass to eat. So it boiled down to the fact that they were burning the place. And so they came to the conclusion that henceforth at that time they would not burn the bush again. They would not burn. That was it, because they were feeling the pinch of burning, they decided, nobody forced them, they decided that they would not burn. And luckily for them, there was a law passed by the government at that time that bush fires were illegal. You were not supposed to set bush into fire. So we had a backing of the government at that time. And so everybody just bought the idea so that our cattle would remain on the land instead of wandering far away. And we realized that our farming, the crops, the harvest was also very poor because the fire would burn the farm, burn the bush, And most of the people didn't have money to buy fertilizer. So it was a welcome news that we should stop burning the bush. And everybody bought in the idea, so we stopped burning. And realized after 3 years, we realized that the cows were not wandering away. The food crops too, the harvest too was improving. And so everybody now knew that it was a good thing. And we brought in the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency. They came to help us, to educate us about the bad effects of bushfires. The Ministry of Agriculture also came in. Then the fire service of Ghana came to the place, identified some young men and women, and trained them how to put off fire. So it has become, God City has become a household word in the Upper West and in Ghana in general. Because for 35 years, not to have burned a place, the place has become a bush, a forest. You can see tall, tall trees. When I was young, I never saw those trees grow so tall. Because after harvesting the crops, they burn. And now they are there for years. And as I'm saying, 35 years, we have not burned the place. I'm not saying that we don't burn. We can burn, restricted burning. If you want to farm, you gather the rubbish or whatever you want to burn in the farm, and then stand there and burn. So it doesn't extend to any other place. So if you cannot give what you do not have, now that we know the good side of not burning, we are able to teach other people. And they have come to see God as an example. And so some of the villages around are also following our example. So the most important way to stop bushfires is to know that if you burn the bush, your farming crops will not do well, your animals will not get grass to eat, and therefore you have to be buying these things to come and feed them. And where is the money to buy these things? It's a poor area. And so we are peasant farmers. We are not commercial farmers. We depend on the crops of the area. So that's why we are bought into the idea not to burn.
Thank you, Simon. That's a very encouraging story. And you also mentioned the involvement of the EPA, so I will let Emmanuel have a word, or, we have the word.
All right. I think that Harifizi, let me comment on his presentation. And he has given us a very good situational analysis of what is happening in Madagascar. And I think that the way bushfires are managed in an area is often a reflection of the capacity of the people to manage such fires, or somehow the challenges they have in managing it. So one of the issues he has highlighted is that the poverty level in the country is very high, and poverty seems to drive the way the farmers use fire, which leads to land degradation. And so this tells us that we do not, or the country does not only have to focus on delivering extension services to educate the people about how to manage fires, because if they are much interested in survival, then what they need as part of the support to manage bushfires will have to include the support that will help them to increase income levels so they move beyond survival. And this will require the use of the community-based fire management approach, where you would have to more or less even take a second look at the local situation of fires, and then together help to build a common understanding of the causes and effects of fires, and then be able to agree and to develop a strategy to manage such fires. So I think that, yes, you have talked about a very important point, which is about delivering extension services so the farmers get to know how to manage bushfires. It will not be enough because some of them may already be aware, but they want to survive. So helping them to manage the fires in a way that will control the harmful fires will have to involve helping them to increase their income level so they move out of the poverty in which they find themselves, and then perhaps they will see things more differently. Yeah, and then with respect to EPA's involvement in Goziri,
We will have lots of occasions to then, we'd love to hear more about EPA afterwards, but also a word from Madagascar, from the Ministry of Environment and Sustainable Development.
Merci. Je suis désolé, mais je vais parler en français et
pour une équité entre les anglophones et les francophones aussi. Si les francophones ont fait des efforts pour comprendre l'anglais, c'est autour des anglophones maintenant, parce qu'apparemment la traduction ne marche pas. Désolé. Bon.
Nos excuses.
Ok, bon, désolé. Pour continuer ou commenter un peu, ajouter sur ce que Harifidi a présenté, plutôt du côté responsable au sein du ministère. Je dirais que Madagascar aussi, il y a une part importante de responsabilité du gouvernement s'il y a tellement de destruction, de feux et de destruction qui se passent annuellement. Jusqu'à maintenant, la politique du gouvernement, c'est plutôt une politique répressive. Et il n'y avait pas tellement de synergie d'action entre les différents ministères. La gestion de feu à Madagascar était l'apanage, la responsabilité du ministère de l'Environnement. Pourtant, Arfid a bien dit tout à l'heure que l'élevage aussi cause de feu parce que pour avoir l'herbe fraîche, les éleveurs de zébus mettent le feu, incendient les collines, les montagnes pendant la saison sèche. Il y a aussi même les touristes qui voyagent, ça peut aussi entraîner des incendies, mais il y a aussi les activités minières aussi qui peuvent entraîner des incendies aussi. Donc il n'y avait pas tellement de synergie d'action entre les différents ministères. La politique n'était pas inclusive, qui n'inclut pas tellement les communautés ou les associations dans les villages. C'est un peu ça aussi le problème. Mais actuellement, le gouvernement actuel, et c'est pour ça qu'il y a des études, il y a l'engagement du ministère dans la restauration de paysages et des forêts dans la FR100. Il y a beaucoup d'activités qui sont en cours pour corriger la situation qui n'était pas bénéfique pour gérer ou pour lutter contre le feu. Donc je vais m'arrêter là d'abord parce qu'il y a encore les discussions après. Si vous avez des questions, je suis prêt à répondre. Mais pour terminer, je peux dire que si les synergies n'existaient pas entre les différents ministères, il n'y avait pas non plus systématiquement de relations de travail entre le ministère au niveau central et les autorités décentralisées ou les services déconcentrés au niveau des régions. Et je pense que le directeur régional de Bouin va parler de quelque chose sur ça. Et
Oui.
donc vous pouvez continuer directement alors.
Merci Marcelane. Le mot, c'est à vous.
Bonjour tout le monde, je m'excuse, je vais encore aussi donc m'exprimer en français. On m'a transmis donc la mission donc de parler un peu de la gestion des feux de brousse d'après un plan de développement que la région Bouéni vient d'élaborer tout récemment. Gestion des fonds de brousse, donc d'après le plan régional de développement. Comme la législation permet la décentralisation des actions de développement, donc les régions, elles peuvent alors élaborer leur propre plan de développement ou c'est ce que nous appelons donc le PRD. Pour le cas de la région Bouéni et à Madagascar, ce plan de développement vient d'être élaboré ce mois d'octobre 2019. Et ce plan prend en compte la gestion des feux de brousse d'après l'un de ses objectifs spécifiques. Ainsi, ce plan prévoit alors de gérer le feu de brousse de trois façons, d'après les trois façons suivantes. Primo, par des actions stratégiques. Secondo, par des actions opérationnelles. Et enfin, par l'encadrement des mouvements migratoires. Parlons d'abord des actions stratégiques prévues dans le programme régional de développement pour la gestion des feux de brousse. Pour cela, donc, trois actions sont planifiées. Premièrement, on pense donc faire une actualisation, une révision des textes réglementaires actuels qui régissent le feu de brousse, notamment sur l'autorisation des feux de renouvellement de pâturage. Et ceci pour un meilleur contrôle de ce feu de pâturage dont on a parlé tout à l'heure, qui cause le 95% des feux de brousse, plus de 90% des feux de brousse. L'action numéro 2, donc, c'est le renforcement de l'application des textes et des mesures de protection pour les feux autorisés. Parce qu'il y a des feux autorisés aussi. On autorise là les feux, donc il faut renforcer l'application des textes et des mesures de protection pour ces feux autorisés. Et troisièmement, il y a l'application effective du DIN. Nous appelons DIN, donc c'est une sorte de pacte social entre la population. Parce qu'on vient de parler tout à l'heure que les actions devraient impliquer les populations locales. Donc on a mis en place donc une sorte de pacte social entre la population en matière de gestion des feux de brousse. Mais ce pacte social devrait être sous validation de la justice par la délivrance d'une homologation avant d'être appliqué. Il faut que ça soit conforme à la loi en vigueur. Voilà les premières les actions stratégiques. Maintenant, entrons pour les actions opérationnelles pour la gestion des fonds de feux de brousse. Donc, sur le plan opérationnel, donc, comme on a dit, l'implication de la population locale est indispensable. En premier lieu, il s'agit d'assurer la mise en place des comités locaux de gestion des feux de brousse au niveau de chaque village. On devrait le mettre en place. Ensuite, ces comités, on devrait les former en gestion des feux. Il faut les équiper en matériel nécessaire pour faire face aux feux. Par exemple, pour les sacs à eau, par exemple, ou des moyens de déplacement, etc., etc., etc. En second lieu, donc, il s'agit de l'application de la lutte préventive contre le feu de brousse au niveau le plus bas du territoire, par exemple au niveau des parcelles et des hameaux. Ceci, par la mise en place des pare-feux, par exemple, par des campagnes d'information, d'éducation, communication aussi. Et concernant la lutte active, il s'agit de renforcer les comités locaux mis en place, les renforcer par les forces de l'ordre, les militaires, et renforcer aussi par les pompiers. C'est ce qui est prévu. Enfin, la dernière façon de gérer le feu de brousse, d'après le PRD, on parle aussi de l'encadrement du mouvement migratoire. Pourquoi? En effet, un mouvement migratoire massif existe dans la région Bouéni, venant des régions avoisinantes depuis presque 5 ans. Et la venue de ces migrants amplifie le phénomène de défrichement des forêts naturelles au niveau des aires protégées, suivi automatiquement de feux de brousse. Donc le PRD prévoit l'élaboration des stratégies à cet effet. D'abord, il faut faire l'accueil et l'installation de ces migrants en dehors des aires protégées et d'une façon légale. On devrait mettre en place une structure d'accueil composée par toutes les forces vives, telles que les leaders traditionnels, les représentants de chaque groupe de la population, représentants des services techniques déconcentrés, les collectivités territoriales décentralisées, les organisations de société civile, les ONG, etc., etc. Une structure d'accueil donc composée par eux. Et puis formation aussi aux migrants sur les procédures légales à suivre. Ensuite, on devrait faire aussi une élaboration de stratégies pour orienter, installer ces migrants vers des zones légales définies par le document de planification territoriale, tels que les schémas régionaux d'aménagement du territoire et les schémas d'aménagement communaux. Et enfin, il faut aussi donc donner des formations en activités génératrices de revenus pour la population, parce qu'on a parlé du problème de pauvreté. On devrait les former, l'encadrer et les inciter donc à pratiquer ces activités génératrices de revenus pour leur subsistance. Donc voilà donc ce que le PRD parle, donc ce qu'on devrait faire pour faire face aux feux de brousse. Merci de votre attention.
Okay, so we've learned from Jean-Jacques that at the level of the ministry there is some responsibility to be held. There's been a focus on fire suppression as opposed to fire management, and that there are some issues with lack of synergies between ministries, and that we probably also see in other countries, which is a real hindrance to moving forward. At the same time, very encouraging at the level of the BOENI, you have the Plan Régional du Développement that is starting to really tackle questions as to how we can address fires. We look forward to seeing this translate into reality, because Firefighting's data shows that fires are not under control at this stage. We have a set of questions that can move us further in terms of figuring out pathways to managing uncontrolled bushfires. And I'd like to ask the audience to look at these questions and give your vote as to which one is the most important for these panelists to address. Now you've got a little bit of gist of who they are, what they represent. And I think it's a very interesting panel in that we have both local community, ministry and researchers and regions represented. So the first question is, well, you can read, so under what circumstances do you think that determining economic costs and ecological consequences of bushfire or any contestable sustainable land management strategy can be an incentive for change? A study like Firefighting's, for example. What role do land resources access rights play in regards to devastating fire? And how to integrate and link national legal level and policy frameworks with the local level? So how best to link that? And the fourth question that you can vote on is, what is the role of communities in fire management? So we want to make sure that the panel addresses the question that you find most important first and foremost. So I'll let, who votes on question 1? Hands up. 1, 2, okay, 3, 4. Okay, who votes on question 2? 1, 2, 3. Oh, this is going to be difficult. Question 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the role of communities in fire management. Ooh, I see some more hands here. Okay, this is where we're going to start open up the panel, and I think we are very well equipped to do so. So maybe starting with you, Firefighting. Can you extrapolate a little further? In what way do the communities play a role in fire management?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Vanya. The way I will answer is, the 4 questions are linked in a way that, we can discuss about how community can really react to fire management systems. But in reality, the community are playing alone today. They have nobody. In a way that, even the government wants to work on fire management, but at final system, they will be alone to fight themselves against fire. In a way that we have to think about the situation on how we can accompany permanently the farmers and the community to go beyond what they are doing now. As I have shown earlier, they are now facing a situation that they are poor, but also they have no other options in a low investment system. So, in my point of view, it is key that if we are going through community fire management, that they have enough, capacity. So there is the government has to invest more and more about how we can build capacity and have enough people working with the local communities. This is the first situation. The second situation is on how, like the regional director said earlier, how we can have everybody on the table on this question of territorial planning. Where do I have to do the extensification? Where do I have to go to the pasture? And how we can work together on this territorial planning. And the third one is how we can analyze also the options of cost and benefits, like the first questions here, on how we can also pass this analysis to the local communities.
So there's clearly an issue of being able to finance these actions, right? Because, well, in some unique cases, you can have a community like Gosori take up themselves action and really fight when you have a dedicated leader and find solutions. But you're saying in Madagascar, you're not expecting that to happen by itself. Communities need to be accompanied. How can they be accompanied? And also, do not hesitate to feed in Jean-Jacques.
Comme je viens de dire là tout à l'heure, c'est que il y avait ces problèmes de synergie, il y avait ces problèmes d'application de loi. Et actuellement, le gouvernement actuel, qui travaille actuel, cherche des solutions pour déjà impliquer les communautés de base dans toutes les étapes de conception de politique contre le feu. Déjà, même s'il n'y a pas encore des appuis matériels ou appuis financiers, il y a cette implication de communautés dans la conception des politiques, des stratégies pour lutter et gérer le feu. Mais dans le même temps aussi, comme Arfid a dit, il y a l'appui qui est dans le... Je ne sais pas si on a déjà... La dernière fois, on a déjà parlé de la note politique contre le feu à Madagascar. Dans cette note politique, il y a une stratégie qui va appuyer les communautés avec des matériels pour lutter contre le feu, mais aussi pour gérer contre le feu. Comme le directeur régional a dit aussi, il y a ce problème de migration qui est à l'origine de feux, surtout de feux dans les forêts des aires protégées. Il y a aussi une stratégie du gouvernement qui va vers la résolution de ce problème de migration, mais tout ça, on fera ça avec les autorités administratives régionales, mais aussi avec des partenaires financiers et des partenaires techniques aussi du gouvernement.
D'accord. Ça, c'est aussi une note encourageante. Alors, nous avons aussi vu l'exemple notamment de Gosori et l'engagement de la communauté. Sorry for the... and the role of the community in managing fires in Gosori. From your experience, how can we make sure that what has happened, how the way that Gosori community has managed fires can be replicated in other parts of Ghana where bushfires are getting out of control? Either of you, whoever.
The model of bushfire management that has been practiced in Gosori, I must say, cannot be replicated in every community. First, their approach to fire management involves fire suppression. And we can trace that to the kind of issues that have driven the evolution of this approach to fire management in the Gosre community. They had personal experiences of the negative effects of bushfires, such as the temporary shortage of grass for livestock grazing. And also they had a very competent leader who was able to engage the entire community to agree on how to suppress these fires. And he was able to himself be among the first people to start controlling fires from agricultural activities from escaping to cause bushfires. And then he even personally assisted some other farmers to do so. And then, because they also had some form of rules to ensure that every community member was part of controlling bushfires and also taking part in suppressing such fires. But then he also was able to even empathize with those who fell foul of these rules. But the approach to fire management in that community involves suppression. And we understand that bushfire management has more to do with controlling fires that are harmful. So we will actually need to, in order to support other communities to manage bushfires, we need to more or less raise more awareness about how to control harmful bushfires rather than asking them to replicate exactly what is happening in the Gosere community. Because if I should say, in Ghana, we actually have a wildfire management policy, but there seems not to be a common understanding among staff of organizations in Ghana with land management mandates on how harmful bushfires should be controlled. So if you have lived in Ghana for some time, you would often hear in public communication, most of our leaders would encourage communities to suppress fires. And this has an effect on how communities see fire management and how they should manage it. And of course, as direct users of the land, it is the role of communities to manage fires. So what we can do is to use a community-based fire management approach so we can engage other communities where bushfire is a problem. Then together we can identify with them what are the issues that drive destructive bushfires. And then we can come out with workable solutions so that we do not suppress fires in every community, but try to get the people to control fires that are harmful.
Yes, and very much community-led initiatives and not top-down suppression policies. Exactly. So I'm hearing the same issue in Ghana as we've seen in Madagascar, where there's been maybe notably a view that fire is something that should be suppressed as opposed to managed. I sense that there may be questions in this panel or in the audience for the panel members, so I would very much also like to let you give a question to the panel.
I'm not having a question, but a contribution. The vote I think you made up here is a little critical because it needed to be a very expansive thing. It's really limited. I would advise that next time we should expand further beyond those indicators that I used. However, I wish to just say there's no silver bullet to the solution or to the challenge of bushfire management, because we have to try to understand the
dimensions or the background where bushfires come from. For instance, I'm a farmer. Culturally, in my community, locally, bushfire originates from farmers, legitimate fires that become wildfires that destroy. Why? Because there is a farm practice where grass is embedded in ridges and burned over the night. And sometimes this fire, engulfs or goes further, becomes a destructive wildfire. That's one. So the farmer is also a source of wildfire. Two, the hunters. The hunter wants to he wants to create a frightening or weak environment for the wildlife. So he gets an easy prey of the wildlife. What does he do? He intentionally ignites a fire. It becomes a wildfire and engulfs a forest. That's from a legitimate reason to a destructive impact. The third one is the pastoralist. He wants to regenerate the pasture field very quickly so that it burns the field and then so that new grass can grow for the cattle to feed on. Or he intentionally just wants to burn, so that maybe his compatriot, I don't want to say in rather very adverse situations or rare situations also, so that the farmer doesn't farm there and then he should have that space for grazing. So these three dimensions have to be well looked at very well because they are all coming from someone who has a legitimate need.
Exactly.
The need for pasture, the need for wildlife, and the need for fertile soil.
Does any...
Now, my question I want to ask, do you really think that we have to just look at wildfires from one perspective or from this limited perspective? That's one. Two, I would suggest that this meeting be expanded further beyond this, approach, because it should really be a concrete, more expansive discussion to look at the legal side, to look at the community involvement, to look at even the international involvement, because wildfires sometimes are also originating from illegal logging sources, where consortiums, actually encroaches into forest lands and they have to do exploitation and mining that actually leads to land fallow and degraded. And so, first solution to...
I will let the panel answer your question before, because otherwise they will forget your question.
This is where we always have challenges. When we have allocated time, insufficient time for very concrete issues, and I am speaking from my heart, because this is really bothers me, and I think it bothers many other people. So, my advice to GLF and other partners is that there is no better way to address wildfire issues than greening the land. Let's make greater policies in greening the land better and more. Thank you.
Do any of you want to give a comment on the question that was asked?
Yes, just one comment. Unfortunately, the World Forest Congress is parallel with the JLF, the World Forest Congress in Brazil, just right now, where there is a lot of discussions also around these situations. And I fully agree that, I am speaking about this tailored approach or tailored answer. You cannot have just one approach to one situation or to all situations, in a way that you have to consider the local situation and the national situations. That is the reason why I'm talking about how we can have everybody on board and around the table to discuss about this territorial planning on having crop fields, rangeland, etc.
In my view, if you have to look at legitimate activities that lead to bushfires, the issue is more about integrating these activities that cause bushfires into how to prevent such fires, how to control them, and in some cases even how to suppress fires. If you are looking at maybe a plantation farm you are establishing, then if fires are not suppressed somehow, then the young trees may be destroyed. If you are looking at maybe pastoralists who need to legitimately burn so that grass can regrow for their livestock to graze. It is important that we identify all these key stakeholders within the landscape where we have this fire problem, and then we engage them to see how we can bring them together to have a common understanding and to decide on how to manage fires within such an area. So fine, the activities that cause bushfires are legitimate, but fire users have to be responsible. And on their own, they will not be. Someone has to engage them. And that is how comes I will keep mentioning the community-based approach. It may come from above, but if the members of the local community are part, having engaged and are part of the process of taking the decision and are taking the lead in implementing it, then it is community-based. We may have to, of course, domesticate our policy to the local level by way of educating the communities and engaging them to develop the approach. But once our discussion is focusing on the local level, I see that whatever activity at the local level drive these fires has to become part of the way fire is managed. And this may also include accepting the use of fire so that people don't just suppress the fires everywhere or keep burning everywhere, but that they have to burn at a time that maybe the grass is not too dry, so that the fires are not very hot and not very destructive, and so many other arrangements that may be made with respect to how to manage fires in an area.
Hello. What I want is that there should be education. The key word here is educating the people. If you are not well educated to the dangers of fires, you will just set your fire because I am a cattle owner and I want my cattle to graze. But if I know that I set fire for my cattle to graze later and you go to destroy other things, then I will not do that. So I think the key word here is that we should try to educate the local people, the people who use fire for their businesses, so that they will know that it is wrong at times to just do things for your selfish end without considering your neighbor. So education is key. If you don't educate the people, the local people, they will set fire. In my place, for example, before we brought in these measures, people just go and set fire to catch rabbit, just common rabbit. You see? But if you educate them, it's not good to do that, they will stop. So I think that we should continue to educate the people and to empower the local people, particularly the traditional rulers, so that they can take a decision on some of these issues. Thank you.
So I think we're seeing some commonalities here in our discussions. We're saying territorial planning is key and that there is consideration for all the different stakeholders that interact, hunters, pastoralists, farmers, and that we need participatory processes so as to ensure that there can be a real discussion, but also that there's awareness is raised around fire and how to manage fires, the consequences of it for these different stakeholder groups. Harifidi has also pointed to the case for saying, yeah, but even if you educate the farmer, how can you expect that he does it if he's so poor, strapped against the wall? And here we had a member from the audience who said regreening. And I'd like to draw attention to an example that I've witnessed in the Upper West, where regreening indeed has helped farmers triple their incomes through farmer-managed natural regeneration and also diversify their income sources. That in turn allows them to then invest in fire management, suppression, protection, and all the rest of it. So yes, I think part of the solution do come with sustainable land management approaches. So I'm also conscious, we unfortunately got started a little bit late. So I'm questioning here, shall we extend the session a few more minutes beyond the 45? Also in case that, yes, there may be more interest coming from the audience here, and we want to bring you on board. So indeed, let's continue the discussion a bit here.
Okay, please can I speak?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I'm Alex from Form International from Ghana. Regarding community fire management, I just want to share with you what we are currently doing. We have a fire project called Integrated Community Fire Management Project, where the community members are trained because according to the Prevention of Bushfires Act, there should be fire volunteer in every community responsible for fire suppression and also detection and reporting. So what we realized was that we have established our plantation as a business entity. But what we realized was that most of the fires that enters our plantation actually comes from the communities, and they enter the plantation. So the idea was that we have to get the community on board, let them be part of our fire management strategies. So we started giving them training, and it started with revision of existing bylaws, because we realized that the bylaws which were existing was only for punishment. You violate, you set fire into the plantation, then you are punished for that. But there are no clear guidelines as to what a farmer should do, because the truth is that you can never stop people from burning. They should burn even in the dry season because they need to prepare their land. People need their cattle to feed and others, so they will still burn, but then the activity should be regulated. So what we did was that we collaborated with the traditional authorities, the paramount chief, the district assemblies. Then we revised the bylaws to reflect the current situation, to solve the problem. Now, after the revision of the bylaws, what we did was that we supported the fire volunteers because it was dormant. So we started reviving them. And through the revision, we gave them basic fire fighting training, suppression training, prevention training, and everything. We also supported them with basic firefighting tools like cutlasses, beaters, rakos, and others. So what we did was that what we collaborated with the National Fire Service to do was that before each fire season, we conduct a compliance audit check to see if the farmers are managing their fuel very well, like constructing fire belt around their farms, where they are staying. They make sure that they construct fire belt, and we also educate them on the dangers of fire. One thing that we did was that if a farmer wants to burn, the bylaw states that they should see the local fire officer who is responsible for the fire volunteers. Then the farmer will come to the local fire officer in the community. Then the local fire officer, who is well trained, will then go and assist the farmer to burn responsibly, so that the farm will not extend to other areas. So they have to go and do the assessment, check and see if fire belts are clearly constructed so that the farms could be burnt. What we also did was that during the day, we know that one thing that we cannot control as far as fire is concerned is weather. You can't control, and it also influences fire behavior. So we came out with a community notice board. What we did was that we have a rating, fire rating within the day. So what we call fire danger index. So within the day, we call the local fire officer that you're supposed to put the arrow on blue color. Once it is blue, it means that people are permitted to burn, but only under the control or management of the local fire officers. When it is red, it means that the weather is not good, and the local fire officer is not permitted. Nobody is permitted to burn in the community. And the program was very successful. Last year, this year, that is 2019, starting from December up to March, we did not have any fire in our plantation, and even in the forest. It was very successful. The people now understand it. And one thing that we are also doing is that we make sure, as part of our landscape restoration project, the farmers are supported to plant cashew and other cash crops around the forest reserve. The whole idea is that at a point in time, we may not be in a position to supply them with this logistical support. But then once they have their investment around the forest plantation, they will make sure that their investment is not lost. So they will protect their investment and also protect the forest. So that is what we are doing. I think the main problem is that we need to look at our bylaws, because it is like punish, but it doesn't solve problem. What should the farmer do? People can still burn. You can't stop people from burning. That is what we observed. So we came out with this project, and it's working for us. And it has been a very positive program for us. So that is what I wanted to share.
Wow.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. I think that we have definitely something to learn from the private sector, it seems like, in figuring out good solutions. And I hope this model can be replicated across territories. There's one other comment or question up there in the audience.
Old or young, you know that out of that area, they don't burn. That's what is the mentality. This area goes here, we don't burn. So as the children are growing up, they know that this area we don't burn. So if you go there, if you are from Ghana, you come to God's area and see, it's a forest area now. It's a savanna land. But because we don't burn, the trees have become forest. So I think the only thing that I talked about education. You have to constantly educate the people that bush burning. He said that we have controlled burning. There's no way you can stop burning, but it should be controlled, and we do it. Before we start farming, we weed and gather the rubbish and whatever and burn, and then control. We stand there and it burns. After that, we put it off. So that's how we do it, and everybody knows that as for that place, they don't burn. So you inculcate this into the youth, and the children who are born, they should be taught that this area we don't burn. If you are burning, then it means you are going to shorten the life of many, many trees. Those trees that I didn't see grow into big ones when I was a child. Now they are big trees. Because for 35 years they have not cut them, they have not burned them. So I think talking about sustainability, it is constantly reminding the people, educating them against the dangers of burning. And if you don't burn, you see that your crops will they will improve. I mean, they'll harvest. The yield will improve because of the fertility of the soil. The grass will die this year, next year they will die and coming. And so that you may not even have, need to buy fertilizer. So I think we have to constantly remind our people. And it is not just the chief saying anything. We call all the people together at a local forum. You talk, I talk, you talk, and so on, and we all come to a conclusion. So when you come to a conclusion, you cannot go against it. Thank you.
And also, in Gosiri, the people who are involved in bushfire management derive some direct benefits from managing the fires. So they have talked about the increased yields in their crops compared to the period before they started controlling, suppressing the fires. So some of them have talked about the increased biomass on the field. So when they harvest, they do not allow fires to destroy the litter. So it decomposes and soil fertility increases. Within the area that is lying fallow, there's a lot of grass growing, and there are also trees that are emerging. So when they make new farms, those soils are more fertile compared to other areas which are not under bushfire suppression. So they seem to see some direct benefits from fire management, which has encouraged quite a number of them to continue to suppress the fires, though this is not likely to be the approach that we can recommend for everyone. But I think that if fire management is linked to, as is mentioned earlier, land access and use rights, which will allow people who participate in fire management to derive some direct benefits, then at a point, the benefits themselves will be an incentive for those involved to continue to manage the fires, apart from other forms of engagement that have to be done continuously to manage the fires.
Okay.
Very much. Wait.
Je vais ajouter aussi donc concernant le souci de notre ami là sur la durabilité donc des actions qu'on va en mettre en œuvre. Comme je viens de parler dans le programme régional de développement, c'est une, comment on appelle ça, une sorte de implication de la population, c'est-à-dire une sorte de pacte social entre eux. Ce sont eux donc qui font du autocontrôle, qui font de auto-information, d'éducation. Donc c'est ce qu'on appelle à Madagascar le DINA. Donc ce truc-là, c'est durable. Ça ne dépend pas du projet, ça ne dépend pas du gouvernement, mais c'est entre eux. Donc la durabilité est assurée dans ce cas-là, pour les cas de la gestion de brousse. Merci.
Thanks a lot for this question, and this question is for me really a quick question in a way that, you know, a lot of countries in Africa have suffered from the structural adjustment everywhere in the country where, you know, these extension services are more and more disappeared through the years. So for me it is key that who will be really present in the field? The farmer and also the extension services. Who will help them for the technical package? If not, the local communities will be alone. This is the first situation. The second situation is, degrading land is very easy, but restoring land is very hard and time consuming. We have to be aware that, people on the field is now facing, there is a project who will say the answer is planting trees. Another one will be land tenure is key. The third one will say agroecology is key. It is a mess for the local communities, right? So we have to rethink on how we can build together with the farmers a real solution of the situations. And you're right when you are telling about the projects, because the project today is designed, with this 4 years or 5 years cycle. You cannot do a planification, a real planning of restoring a world landscape in 4 years. So you have to have a strategy, and I urge the government to put in place this kind of long-term strategy, 10 years, 20 years, on a real vision, and how I can work with the financial partners on building, long-term financing system. That's it.
I think that despite that we had a limited time, we have covered a very important mass of information, and that we've got here to the end to some really crucial points that there seem to be agreement within the audience, amongst the panel, and I'll try to summarize some of the points that we've mentioned notably, because on the one hand, we've seen, okay, if communities are driven to the brink, where the degradation is so strong that they're facing the wall, there may be educated leaders standing up and initiating management from bottom up. We would like that there can be management before we reach the ultimate situation of degradation. And for that purpose, we need long-lasting solutions. So farmers know best how to manage their land if they're provided with the resources and the education to do so. Every single ecosystem we're working in is unique. Every single culture is unique. So there cannot be a one-size-fits-all policy. We've seen that fire suppression policies have not worked. So we've also more or less, I think, come to a consensus that we need participatory planning, and in which we can have the different stakeholders work together. And I think there's also a case for involving the private sector. It was a beautiful system of checks and rules and incentives that have been created for farmers that have enabled this particular community to exclude fires. And coming to the last point of Harifidi about ensuring durability, it's true that maybe 4 to 5 year project cycles, it's not necessarily making the situation easier. We've got to find a way whereby we can find durability, perenniality of our farmer support systems. I thank you everybody for your participation, and also very many thanks to the hosts, BMZ and GIZ, and wish you a continued great conference. And to the panelists.
Thank you.